Come on in, guys, because it's time for another episode of Outwatch, a Survivor Rewatch podcast. My name is Alex. I am your host and guide in our Outwatch journey. On this podcast, we rewatch and recap and react to old seasons of Survivor. And I am joined by three of my friends who are relative newcomers to the Survivor world, watching these seasons with intensity for the first time ever. We are smack dab in the middle of our Survivor The Amazon rewatch. That's season 6. And today we are recapping episode 7, titled Girls Gone Wilder. Chances are you have heard about this episode because it was a big one. Or perhaps your unwholesome searches on the internet led you down a rabbit hole that led you here. I hope it didn't.
What an unfortunate series of Googling with a very express intent in mind.
Yep. So before we get deep into this episode, it's time that you met my co-hosts. And let's start with Adam. Welcome to Outwatch.
Oh, so good to be here, Alex.
I always love to start out our pod with a pointed question related to this episode. And for obvious reasons, I've got to ask, Adam, if you were in an individual immunity challenge, what food would you ask Jeff to produce that would tempt you to strip to your buck nakedness and jump into the ocean and forfeit your chance at immunity? What is that food that you would ask him to produce from the Survivor kitchen for you?
I mean, assuming I would actually need a food offer to do this to begin with. Let's start there.
Oh, Lord.
The Oreos probably would have gotten me real quick.
Yeah.
You would not have needed much beyond Oreos to get those pants off.
Not even peanut butter with the Oreos. Just
I wouldn't have needed
Oreos.
peanut butter. Mm-mm. Don't even need to be double stuff. Just, regular Oreos. You would have got me. I don't need milk, just Oreos. I would have been there.
All right. Well, if you were a part of this challenge, you were going right in the water with Jenna and Heidi, huh?
Yeah, but that's okay. I'm not Roger, so I think we're good.
Roger! Emily, welcome to Outwatch.
Thanks for having me.
Same question. What food are you making Jeff produce?
I would want some macaroni and cheese. Like the good kind.
What's the good kind?
I mean...
like with Velveeta.
Well, yeah, I mean... Yeah, some real cheesy stuff. I like the curly noodles. What are those?
Yeah.
Cavatappi
noodles. Those are the best.
That is that's a slept on thing. I don't know why every mac and cheese dish isn't made with that noodle.
Yeah. They're really sturdy and they just capture all the cheese.
It's what you want.
Yes.
Hey, Scott, welcome to Outwatch.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Always. Scott, what food are you making Jeff produce to get down to your birthday suit and forfeit your immunity chance?
I'm probably going to go with a buffalo chicken wrap.
That's a good one.
My favorite food.
Wow. I do often crave a buffalo chicken wrap.
They're very good. They always hit the spot. Whether I am not starving on an island or if I'm just existing in my normal life.
Was it your...
Now that you say that, a Popeye's chicken sandwich probably would get me off that too.
Ooh, the Popeye's chicken sandwich. Now we're getting into pop culture meme territory. Scott, was it your year of right quad chicken wrap eating that subconsciously made you choose buffalo chicken wrap?
That's where it started.
Man, if Jeff pulled out a Charlie Biggs spicy chicken wrap.
And it was prepared by Sandon when he worked at the
friend of the show, Sandon. Oh my God! Imagine the way they sneak in Coors Light in one of these episodes. It's this episode. They also had just the Charlie's Biggs guy, Charlie Biggs chicken, gas stations and college food places. That's the only place you find those.
I was very disheartening. It was very disheartened to find out that Charlie Biggs is gas station chicken.
Yeah, and it was treated as a delicacy our freshman year.
No, it was so good.
There's a convenience store just down the block from Circadian, totally a sponsor of this podcast, that has a Charlie Biggs in it. And in the 3 years that Circadian has been operational, I've never once ventured down there, but I've been tempted.
Yeah.
I bet you will now.
I might.
Well, anyway, this episode of Survivor is episode 7 of the Amazon, which is season 6, titled Girls Gone Wilder. If you want to do your own rewatch and follow along with us, or if you're remembering fondly this era of Survivor and want to reminisce along with us, or, if you're doing your first watch through as well, this is spoiler free, so you are safe here, folks. You're safe. No spoilers. What do you say we start this episode by going through the key points of this episode? What do you say, guys?
Sounds great, Alex.
I'm happy to hear that. So this episode starts with after this tribe comes back from tribal council, Rob pitches the idea to the rest of the tribe to convince the other tribe that when they merge, that those original gender-based tribal lines have stuck, and therefore make them feel more comfortable than they truly are. Shortly afterwards, we have our merge. We've made it to the merge, guys. The Orange tribe has to build a new shelter at a new beach, and when they arrive, they get hot dogs and Coors Light, just like, any good Sunday afternoon a meal.
I mean, that's really the dream, right?
Hot dogs and Coors Light, I can think of. That's what I would ask Jeff for if I was on the perch.
Oh, yeah, we didn't ask you.
Jeff, if you produce hot dogs and Coors Light, I'm done. It's over.
You're a true baseball fan.
What's the Chicago beer?
Old Style, dude.
Old Style, yeah. What if you just pull out an Old Style?
I'm gone. I'm not even touching the water. I'm sprinting on the water all the way to Jeff. After the merge feast happens, Roger really kills the buzz and creates some tension with Dina over the plans for the camp. And while Roger's really working hard on that shelter, Rob, Dina, and Jenna are playing the social game really, really hard. The next morning, Roger wakes everybody up early after a wild Coors Light-fueled night. And we see Dina solidifying a final 3 deal with Rob and Jenna. At the immunity challenge, we have this iconic challenge and an iconic moment. They've got to stand on these big perches in the water for as long as they can, while Jeff periodically tempts them to jump off with food. The game implications here is that Christy and Dina make it all the way to the end, but then they play a game of rock, paper, scissors. Dina comes out victorious, and Dina wins immunity while they both get to share spaghetti and meatballs. But the big story here is Jenna and Heidi immediately telling Jeff, if you get chocolate and peanut butter, we will take off our clothes and jump in the ocean. It's kind of like one of those, that Twitter meme where it's like, no one, blank, absolutely no one, blank, Jenna and Heidi. If you bring out chocolate and peanut butter, we're getting naked. That's kind of what happened here.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Back at camp, Roger really has no idea that he's overwhelmingly hosed, and that bears out at Tribal Council, where the original, or rather the swapped tribe lines hold fast. Roger's voted out by a vote of 7-3. Rob, Matt, and Alex swing with the women, while Roger, Matthew, and Dave are left on the outs. And Roger becomes the first person voted out of the merged tribe, but not a member of the jury, notably. And that's that for what happens this episode. Let's start off, as always, by accounting our most reactable moments. I think it's pretty clear here from the macro level, but maybe you guys had some specific moments that you really enjoyed. Scott, what was your favorite or most noteworthy moment of this episode?
Well, so I actually knew, from the previews, for this episode, that I had seen that clip before.
Oh yeah,
the Jen and Heidi one. So when it happened, I was like, okay, whatever, there it is. My big thing was Dina winning immunity, because she's my favorite player right now.
Yeah,
ever. And this whole episode led up to it, and when she finally won, I was like, yes, queen, yes.
Yeah, Dina is incredible.
I love her so much.
This is a Dina Stan podcast, folks.
And I'm leading the charge. I'm rowing the boat. I stand Dina.
Do you have Dina on your tribe, Scott?
I do.
Yeah, he does.
Wow, what a good pick.
And that kind of fuels it more so than anything. But
Definitely.
That was definitely my most noteworthy part of the episode. Favorite part, boom, there it is.
Yeah, I think Jeff says when Dina wins immunity, he's like, man, such a lawyer. You're the only type of people who can negotiate a win and food out of this.
Right?
She's
really killing it.
Yeah. Adam, do you have a favorite or most reactable moment?
I mean, I was a fan of Dina winning. Obviously, I think that the post Roger getting voted out scene where he's talking is just wonderful.
Listen, I'm a leader. It's going to be my downfall.
It's just awesome.
Real chef's kiss moment.
I love this so much because he even says, he's like, I don't think I was outplayed. I don't think I was outwit. It's like, dog, you just got voted out on a blind side.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean you weren't outplayed?
Yeah.
It wasn't my fault. I don't know what happened. It was a fluke. All fluke.
Emily, what about you? What was the best moment of this episode?
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting, the lead up to him getting voted out.
Mm-hmm.
I just was like, there's no way he's completely clueless. But when he quit the immunity challenge very early on, you could tell like he was very confident.
Yeah.
And then the people who voted with him had no idea. So that was really interesting to see in tribal council, especially because, they arrange the vote so it looks like it's going to be close. And then all of a sudden it's just he's completely been voted against and he's out.
Left out in the cold.
Yeah, they really tease that out or set it up well too with that first scene we get where Rob is telling everybody from that tribe let's tell them that it's men versus women, but really we're sticking together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it plays out.
I'll also say that this episode plays out so much like a reality show as compared to new seasons of Survivor play out as more of a strategy show, because after the fact, I looked at Emily and I was like, we didn't get any scenes of the men all talking and be like, this is who we're going to vote out. This is who, we're all in agreement, right? There's nothing of that. Going into it, I had no idea who the men were going to vote for. I think at one point maybe they said Christy, but there's none of the strategic moment where any of the men who are going to betray Roger had to lie to him.
Yeah.
On the final cut.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah,
which
didn't feature really.
Is so strange given that we just got done with Karayan.
Right.
Which was done. I mean, you see Survivor as a reality show, not as much like a strategy game show in this episode so clearly.
Yeah. I think this whole season for sure is the most that it gets that way. Yeah. So let's go ahead and hit the major points of this episode and break them down as they come across our TV screens. One thing I was struck with early on in this episode is, guys, we've got a lot of island wildlife updates to make here. We got a lot of monkey shots. We got a lot of bird shots. You guys have any memorable wildlife memories so far of this? We've talked a lot about the crocs and the piranhas. This is, I'm gonna go ahead and take the liberty and name island wildlife. What's this called? Not a bit.
Segment.
Yeah. Thank you.
Not a bit. Our whole show is a bit. Alex, what are you talking about?
This island wildlife segment is officially now known as.
I didn't know they made such an animal.
Yeah.
I didn't know they made such an animal segment.
Yes.
Any animals that have really stuck out to you guys so far?
I will tell you, I remember 2, but I think they were in the next episode. But because
that's all right. We'll get ahead of ourselves.
I don't think our listeners are paying that much attention. If they are, you should join this podcast. But there was a very cute monkey. I don't like monkeys very much, but this one was very cute. It had big eyes and it looked like a baby. I liked it. The second one was some kind of crocodile or alligator. I think they're crocodiles. And there was this giant fly that landed right on its eyeball. And the crocodile just kind of like twitched its eyeballs and swam away. It was disgusting.
There's also, I think it's next episode, the gnat segment. Rob talks about the clouds of gnats that follow people around.
This episode, we get a little inside peek of some of the stuff they do to prepare the survivors, because Dina is arguing with Roger where she's like, in the training they gave us, we're supposed to be 150 feet from the water. And Roger's like, well, that's all right. And Dina's like, that's not what they told us.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, I'm sure that there is like a pretty extensive like basic survival sort of thing that goes on. Yeah, that's probably what she was talking about.
I like to imagine there's like a guy on the crew who's just there to like reference if they're doing anything like particularly dangerous. And half the time he says his like head in his hands. And he's like, what are we doing?
Kind of like the Gordon Ramsay on the Survivor production crew.
Yeah.
He's putting the cannolis in the oven entirely too late. I started watching MasterChef recently with Jen, and I love it. I really love it. It's like, I've talked about this with her. Now, welcome to our MasterChef podcast within a podcast.
Master commentator.
Yeah. It is so, and I think this is all Fox reality shows, maybe. It's so melodramatic in a way that like Survivor isn't, where like Survivor has tons of moments of like goofiness and levity and kind of like self-poking humor. There's definitely plenty of like drama going on, but it's like MasterChef, every single moment is like, now, please step forward. Dina, your dish today was 5-second pause. Terribly delicious. You're safe.
Awful.
It's like,
amazing.
Yeah, every time, and it's so goofy, but it's like, yeah, it's bad and therefore it's good.
Have you watched MasterChef Junior?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so that's my favorite because Gordon Ramsay's like a human being in it.
Yeah,
where like the kids will start crying and Gordon Ramsay will walk over there and he'd be like, "It's all right, my daughter's crying in the kitchen sometimes too," and then he like helps him do stuff. And like, you're like, "Oh my gosh, you're a real person."
Yeah, I do love. Recently, we did see him yell at somebody about cannolis, and that was pretty funny. Anyway, Merge Feast, guys. We, as mentioned, we got hot dogs and Coors Light, which may rank as the worst Merge Feast of all time.
Yes.
But an important part of the Merge Feast, as far as we're concerned, is that every player on your squad who makes the merge gets an automatic 15 points. So that's a big windfall of points for all these teams here. Especially for Scott's tribe, Bangarang,
Scott took it away.
Who entered this episode with 4 players.
Yes, we're killing it, Team Bangarang.
Did anybody catch the quick clip of Butch opening the jar of pickles and then like grabbing one and being like, yes?
No,
I missed that.
That would have been me.
Maybe rewatch it and see if we can gif the Butch like cheering the pickle. Guys,
I love that. I love everyone getting, or I love Roger getting upset at everyone for trying to keep the beer cold too.
Yeah, he's such a buzzkill. It's real like okay boomer moment for Roger. I thought this was worth bringing up here. I saw this on Thanksgiving. We're recording this shortly after the American holiday Thanksgiving, where Dina tweeted the following, and there was a picture with it that was like this merged group from this episode. But she said, "Special happy Thanksgiving to my merged tribe family, my most memorable Thanksgiving ever. We were dirty, tired, and hungry and spent hours sharing our family traditions. At Rob Sesternino had great stories and commentary. 17 years flies by." Which is very sweet. And also, apparently, this over the course of this episode, it took place over Thanksgiving that year.
Wow.
That's got to be kind of rough.
Yeah. I mean, hot dogs do probably have some turkey in them, so
Maybe.
Also, that would have been a much better moment to share than them staying up late and having like, "What's your wildest sex moment?"
Yeah.
That's like such an unfortunate thing that we now know the producers and editors like decision made.
Yeah. I wonder what footage that didn't make it into the show that the editors had to like cut through.
It's too wholesome. It's 2000. When was it?
three.
It was a post 9/11 world. Dang it. I was going to say it's too wholesome. 9/11 hasn't happened yet, but
Yeah, that was a wild sequence. I think that I made this note for the next episode, but we can talk about it here. This is just like totally the randiest season of Survivor ever, and it's not close.
that is good. That's a good thing to know.
It's like, it's wild. It's every episode. There's like 2 scenes of people talking about sex.
Yeah, or like intense close-ups of Heidi or Jenna.
Yeah.
Who look, I mean, like they look like skeletons.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they have been on this island for 30 days, and I can't imagine they had a lot of excess body weight to begin with. So,
How many people do you think go on a diet before they go on Survivor because they're like, "I gotta look good in a bathing suit"?
I think probably in this era, like most of them.
So sad.
Yeah. But, you know, current knowledge is don't do that. In fact, do the opposite. Bulk up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Get a little thickness.
Yep.
This
That
current,
burns 9 calories per gram versus carbs that are only 4. So
and there is our island medical update from Dr. Scott. Thank you.
you're welcome. That's why I'm here.
Scott, would you recommend the Survivor diet?
What is the Survivor diet?
Antioch.
It's mostly rice, and in this season, it's whatever that stuff they eat in Brazil is.
Ew. Well, I can never recommend a non-balanced healthy diet, so probably not. Starving yourself, man. Fish are good though. Fish is good.
So lots of fish.
Fish and Coors Light.
Of course. All your daily nutrients.
That's everything you need, especially if the mountains are blue.
Did they have the mountains on the can?
I don't know. Surely, probably
In
not.
2003, I'm not sure.
I feel like this is pre Blue Mountains.
Yeah.
I feel
Probably.
like you're right.
Guys, I looked up manioc because I just remembered that's what this is called.
That's what it was. I was
Manioc
thinking, okay.
is
I
it's yucca. It's another word for yucca.
Oh.
And
that
it's,
is awesome.
it's also what makes tapioca.
Yeah.
There's a place here in Indy that has yucca fries, which apparently is pretty popular in a lot of places. So I'm sure it's not just Indy, especially since it's Indy.
Cutting edge
usually
here.
last on those sorts of trends, but they're delicious.
Yeah. Have you ever had
Probably
those?
not on Survivor, you know?
Have you ever had those like exotic chips?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's yucca chips in those bags. They're tasty.
Mm.
Anyway.
Wandering.
This is the most loosey goosey an episode of Outwatch has ever
It's because
been.
there's like nothing really to talk about other than like Jenna and
know.
Heidi's
You're right.
nudity.
We got to tighten it up. We've got to bring it back. Focus.
A tight 4. And another thing I noticed this episode that is super rare in Survivor, and the first time we've seen it, are these pair confessionals. Did you guys catch that?
What? One more time?
Oh, the pair confessionals when they have 2 people in the same frame.
Oh.
Yes.
They did that with Two guys. I don't remember who it was.
Rob and Alex, they did it with,
It
and
was
then
Alex and Matt, right?
I think it was
maybe
Alex
it was
and
them.
Matthew. Yeah.
It was kind of funny because I feel, if I remember correctly, it was Alex in the frame and they were talking to him, and then all of a sudden they kind of zoomed out a little bit, and then Matt was there too.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, what he said. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. He's here too.
Yeah.
it did. There were like moments of this episode that felt less produced or less directed because of things like that.
It was Thanksgiving week, so,
Yeah. Half the crew was, gone anyway.
Right.
So.
Probably.
I actually wondered if it did have a reason to do with like them running out of time or not having as much time to get like a confessional with every single person. If like, all right, this is the biggest that a tribe is going to be right now in the whole course of this game. There's 10 people on this tribe. We don't have enough time to get a confessional with everyone. Let's just lump Heidi and Jenna together and lump Matthew and Alex together. It's something that, yeah, like I really cannot think of other examples of this happening. Exceptionally rare.
And we saw one.
We saw one.
We should be so lucky.
Yeah. It's really, really just grace that we get to see that.
No other word for it.
No other word for it.
We can talk some more about the immunity challenge. There really is a lot here. We've got Jeff's pose where he's lounging on the side of the boat.
He looks good.
He does look good. We've got the moment where it gets really rainy for a while. That was wild. What'd you guys think when the rain came?
I just felt bad for the people eating all that food.
Yeah,
True.
that didn't look
I'm
appetizing.
like, man,
You
there
want
it
a
goes.
soggy pizza?
A soggy pizza.
Also, Jeff opened that up. It was under like a cloche,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, piping hot pizza. I was like, it is not piping hot.
No,
It's
not a
probably been on
chance.
that boat for an hour.
Yep.
And now it's being rained on.
Yep.
Nobody wants your soggy pizza.
From
Oh man, there were hot wings too. That would have got me off.
Dude, those wings looked good though. Low key.
That would have got me to jump off the thing I was standing on.
Adam loves hot wings. No, you did bring that up when we were watching the episode, so I expected that to be your answer.
I forgot about it.
Because you let the Oreos go and then they showed the hot wings and you were like, oh yeah, no, that would be my downfall.
It's fair.
But then you brought up the Oreos earlier.
It sounded, I forgot about it, but like when Jeff, there was this moment where Jeff opened up the cloche and he was like, hot wings with blue cheese dressing. I was like, that sounds amazing right now.
They looked good too. Like those looked like good wings.
Yeah. So there was like me, a human being who just got done with Thanksgiving, was like, yeah, that looks awesome.
Yeah.
I would eat those.
Yeah.
So on the Heidi and Jenna thing,
Yes.
Am I the only one that they said, I will get naked for chocolate and peanut butter? Then he just says, well, what do you know? Here's some chocolate and peanut butter.
Dude, okay.
That about?
Here's the
Almost
theory.
like it was.
This is my
almost like
head
it was
canon.
scripted.
Yeah. Or do you think they messed with the way that they showed the shots? Like, do you think
This
he
is my
showed it to them
head
and then
canon. Is Heidi and Jenna are like, Jeff, we will get naked for peanut butter and chocolate, and then all of a sudden Jeff and the entirety of production is like, oh my god, get some chocolate, guys, find chocolate and peanut butter now, go, we need this, go.
I'm willing to bet that it was more along the lines of that conversation lasted for, like 10 minutes or something like that, where Jeff was asked something specific, said something about chocolate and peanut butter, or like was teasing what they had. And then Jenna and Heidi were both like, we'd get naked for chocolate and peanut butter. And then when they cut it together, they cut out all the kind of middle part. So there had to be, I cannot believe that they just like happened to have Oreos and peanut butter on that boat.
No, not a chance.
It had to be some sort of like coaching or conversation that led to that moment. And that was just going to be the next thing. Or it may have been like a later thing, but they made it earlier. I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't even like have plans to do that. And they were like, okay, guys, we need to find some chocolate. Who like, and production had a thing of Oreos and like a thing of peanut butter sitting around. They're like, we're gonna make this an incentive.
It was in
because
some
we
guy's
need
lunch
this
that
to
day.
happen.
It was
Yeah,
also Coke too, wasn't it? It was like Oreos, peanut butter, and like Coke.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Oh, cola. That's right. Cola soda.
Cola.
Because Coca-Cola paid for their moment in the sun, and we're never spotting them again.
They didn't pay for 2 sponsorships.
They had some left over in that fridge, so they ran and got it real quick.
Yeah,
Back to the camp.
they stole it from the tribe. I would not be surprised if like a sizable amount of time passed between Jenna and Heidi saying, we'll get naked for chocolate and peanut butter, and them then bringing out the chocolate and peanut butter.
Yeah, you're probably right. I just want to believe in conspiracy theories.
I want to believe that Survivor is scripted.
Well,
So-
you're wrong.
Listen, Adam said something the other day, and it's been stuck in my head now. I can't stop thinking about it. He thinks Heidi was a plant.
A plant.
Yeah, I don't think she's a gym teacher.
No, she was, and she was like notably fired from her job after this episode aired.
Sure.
She was.
I can't
fired?
imagine
Yeah.
why.
Yeah, she was fired.
Yeah, I bet they paid a school to fire her so that way they could
All
claim
right,
she
this
was a
is
gym
becoming
teacher.
a little more sketch. Why did they fire her? Because of her.
Yeah,
She was
because she got
inappropriate.
naked on TV, and that's not a good role model for children.
Hey, good for you, school. You have more integrity than CBS.
Imagine that.
You're not wrong.
No, you see it all the time though, like on Big Brother, like people that go on Big Brother get completely fired from their jobs.
I did not know that.
Did you hear about this like Big Brother? This is slightly tangential, but there was like a Big Brother Portugal, Big Brother Spain or something like that, where like a woman was like sexually assaulted and they like aired part of the episode,
Oh no.
Ooh.
and they like a bunch of advertisers decided to pull out. I don't know. In the
That's
midst
terrible.
of like all of the things that were kind of happening on Survivor, it was a very like, this is how bad it could have been like
Wow.
moment.
That's terrible. No, I didn't
Yeah.
hear about that.
Is it? Or was
Yeah,
it-
yeah. This was like
Oh.
within the last couple weeks.
Ew.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah,
I
which
did
is
not
just
hear
like
about that.
it's one of those things that like we're the thing that we keep commenting on is like there it's really hard to watch this with like 2019 standards and 2003
Yeah.
standards 2002. Like it is exceptionally difficult, and part of you feels like, how do you not know better? Like this feels obvious, but we're sitting in 2019 after the Me Too movement, and now we're sort of seeing what, like, if Me Too had happened in that time period and they were still trying to pull these sorts of things, like we're seeing these types of things pop up in reality shows now. And I don't know. I think it's really interesting
Mm-hmm.
in like the history of reality TV and the history of like these kinds of shows that have always kind of towed the line because that's interesting and dramatic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or like funny. Like the things that people
Right.
say for a laugh this season would cause Twitter to explode in 2019. Like rightfully so.
I want to know how far into this season of Survivor would have gotten, or like how the editing would have changed.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. I'm just so curious.
Yeah, I think like the easy answer is that this wouldn't have happened to begin with because production would have not tried to create this atmosphere of randiness and like outward, objectification, you
Right.
know, and then, yeah, they wouldn't have said the things and it wouldn't have happened, but yeah, we say it all the time, but it is like crazy to watch and remember that this was what the world was like.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I texted you guys this because I found it out when I was preparing for this episode, but Heidi ended up marrying professional baseball player Cole Hamels. I didn't know that.
Who is that?
I don't know that.
Cole Hamels.
Adam said she was a plant.
He was a Cub.
Yeah, he was a
Right?
Cub the last couple years. He was on the Phillies for like the longest stretch of his career and his most like successful stretch. He's a pitcher, won the World Series with the Phillies. Like borderline Hall of Famer, probably not at this point, but like close. Ruggedly handsome, really good looking guy.
Kind of a cute couple pic. I don't want to Google it for fear of spoilers.
Okay, I'll look up Cole and Heidi Hamels.
Thanks.
Go ahead and stall for me, guys, while I do this.
Have we talked about the prize for this year?
No,
did, right?
Prize?
I don't think we have the prize for winning Fantasy Survivor.
Oh no, we haven't.
Yeah,
See, Adam's
do we-
wearing his tie-dye shirt and playing with the llama right now, so I was just wondering.
I blame if I don't win this year, I blame it on not having the llama.
At the
I'm
start.
throwing that out there now. I'm already putting an asterisk on this season. What would be a good prize this year so far? From what we've seen, what would be a Magic 8 Ball?
Yeah, I think that's the answer
That's
so
a good
far.
idea.
That's got to be up there.
How hard are Magic 8 Balls to find?
Not that hard.
Go to Walmart. I bet.
I mean,
there's
yeah,
one.
do they still like make them? I don't.
Yeah.
They've got to. I just sent a picture of Cole and Heidi in the
What a cute
in the
picture.
chat.
Wow.
He's a good-looking dude.
Wow. Zoom in.
I can't.
I also, when I was looking this up, I like just had all this like other associated memories. This is like they're a pretty cool and like generous couple. Like they have a foundation that they founded together. They're like known like adoption advocates. And they have like this. They had a mansion that when like in Philadelphia when Cole played there, that when he got on a new team and they moved. He had like this $9 million mansion that he just like donated to a charity instead of like selling it. And of course, like he has tons and tons of money, so he doesn't need it. But like, yeah, he like donated his giant mansion,
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, to like
That's
a
really nice.
camp or whatever. Yeah, they're cool folks.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. Anyway, Heidi moves on from this moment of public nudity.
Great.
Yeah. Another note I made here is I think this is where the marked shift happens. When like you start to see why Rob Cesternino is heralded as one of the most entertaining survivors of all time. He really comes into his own confessional wise with his like storytelling and like deep analogies around this time. He had some funny remarks. This episode.
I am increasingly a fan of Rob.
Yeah,
He still makes
takes a
some
minute.
comments here and there, but
Yes, indeed, he does. And then one thing I wanted to talk about before we get to Tribal here is like I think it's worth talking about the game merit to what Heidi and Jenna are doing regarding their, like getting naked effectively, and then like the bath scenes and stuff, because we may like. Yeah, talk about it one way or the other, but there's at least one confessional this episode where they're talking about like how this is a strategic thing, right? So we ought to do the same. What do you guys make of the game merit to what Heidi and Jenna are doing as far as playing up their sexuality? Do you think there's any efficacy to this here?
This is actually something I was thinking about watching this episode and then the next one, because they have throughout the not to like spoil anything for the next episode, but throughout the challenges, they both kind of stick together in what they're doing. They get, not in this one, but they can get they can get farther in challenges later on, maybe. So that's a spoiler. Together. So it's not just one of them. And then just the way that they handled this Oreo peanut butter thing afterward, and they were talking in their confessional and they were just very nonchalant about it. And they're like, they were laughing about it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're the survivors who did this. Like, that's who we are. And I think they're really leaning into, and I am not endorsing this at all, but this is what I'm noticing factually. I think they're really leaning into the characters that this production team is making them out to be. And
Sure.
I think that's kind of masking them as threats in the game, at least from what we are seeing.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, LOL, like we like to eat Oreos, but they went through that challenge unscathed and they're in the alliance that's kind of running the game right now.
Yeah.
But we are looking at Rob and we are looking at Dina as leaders in that alliance. And we are not considering, in the way that they're framing them, Jenna and Heidi are not being considered leaders in that at all. It's kind of like they're just going along with it. But I don't think that's what they're doing. Like, I think they are being more intentional.
Yeah.
In the way that they're playing the game.
I think this is something we talk about a lot, where it's really problematic to be a leader on Survivor. Like, it's really difficult to go into it as the leader because you're target number one most of the time. Everyone wants to cut the head off the snake. That is first and foremost people's priority when they're trying to take down an alliance that seems like they're taking over. Which means if you're Dina in this case, or if they realize that Rob is such a strong, important component to this, that's really problematic. And like Emily said, this hides them so well. And their their ability to play that up. I mean, it means they get to go and eat Oreos, and it looks like they're not quitting because they're so confident that they're not going to get voted out. It looks like, you know, oh, they're kind of ditzy, or this doesn't matter. They don't realize how much this matters. And so they think it's easy to think they're dumb. I think it is a really good strategic play. I think it'll go farther in this kind of season than it would in a later season. Mm-hmm. I think in Cayenne, it just wouldn't have flown. I mean, we had an entire like beauty tribe, and I don't think anyone played it quite as well as Heidi and Jenna do in the beauty tribe, but it becomes so strategic that you have to be good at portraying like, oh, I'm a dumb blonde, but also like kind of running your own side thing in the background. Mm-hmm. Otherwise it won't work. Whereas with this right here, they kind of get to sit back and be like, well, Rob and Dina seem to have this under control. They think that they're in charge. They think they're running this. We can sit back until it is smart for us to not sit back anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's a completely valid way to play it. It's, you know, it's there are some problems with the portrayal of it, but that's not on them, obviously. Like, you know, we can talk about this for literally the entire thing, and we'll never get over this. But, you know, I think it makes sense, and I think they're doing it exceptionally well.
Yeah, there's such a contrast between like the other members of their alliance too, and I think that overall strengthens up their entire alliance. So like we've got Dina and Rob, who, at least from the outside looking in, or maybe even in that tribe, everybody probably thinks that they are very good players, but they don't think about Heidi and Jenna as strong strategic players. And so by them kind of using this, it does take the target off their back, so to speak. People don't think of them as necessarily maybe, you know, big players in this game. So then when they are strategizing behind the scenes, we maybe haven't seen it yet. It does maybe add to that effect. So like you guys have said, I think they're probably doing more strategizing than the producers are showing us. So I think kind of it completely masks them as threats, and I think it will pay off for them in the end.
There's a really interesting question, because Rob is so confident that him, Dina, and Jenna are their like core three in this case. And we'll probably talk about this more in the next episode, because Rob becomes very concerned with Heidi. But he becomes very concerned with Heidi and Dave, not Heidi and Jenna. And so part of me wonders if like this is even fooling Rob, our at least tied with most strategic player at the moment. Yeah. Which is good. Like, I think if that's your play, that's a really good play, especially if you're fooling, you know, one of the two most strategic players in the game at the moment that's being portrayed. So this is strategically still a relatively boring season. Right. But I feel like in the ramp up here at the end, we're going to see a lot of strategy real quick.
Yeah. I think it really starts to take the shift this episode where you're hearing more of it. You see what people's plans are, you know, whereas before you didn't necessarily see that. And you can track from here on out whether or not those things work. At Tribal, though, Roger is gone with very little fanfare. He was incredibly confident and then was incredibly blindsided. Did you guys think there was a moment where Roger should have seen the writing on the wall in a way that he didn't?
Yes. I was amazed at how he was treating people when they all merged.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I guess if you are someone who is used to being in charge and giving orders and creating order, maybe you wouldn't see that. I can't imagine going into a group of people who are all together for the first time. Some of them you don't know at all.
Right.
And just starting to, like, as they're kind of enjoying and getting to know each other, just being like, okay, stop, like, and just telling them all what to do. And like, how could you not read the room there and see that people don't like that and how that's a huge problem for you?
Well, I think his mindset was the guys aren't pushing back on this too much, so they clearly don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And the girls are the minority.
Well,
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they think.
Yeah.
It's just like, I think in his
just
mind,
short-sighted.
right? I think in his mind, he genuinely thought that the guys were just going to stick together. And in some sense, that is probably a really good strategic move. Just all the guys stick together. Like I think that is as good a strategic move as anything else. If you're confident that you can win immunity. Yeah, I don't know. I think Rob was just his ego was too big, and it was reflected in like the post vote. What did I say? Raj.
Sorry.
Roger's. It was reflected in the post vote talking head piece.
Mm-hmm.
You know, right there where he was like, "Well, I wasn't outplayed or outwitted." Like, yes, you were.
Yeah.
You
were
very
arrogant.
You were the definition of outplayed and outwitted.
Yeah. I think part of. Go ahead, Scott.
I was gonna say he wasn't even necessarily like the main target coming into this episode. Like,
no, Dave
like
was supposed to be number one.
It was Dave, Roger, Butch.
That's a great point. I forgot about that.
And he managed to mess that up so much.
Yeah,
just being an asshole.
Yeah, truly.
So yeah, I'm amazed at how like bad he played this episode.
Yeah, he really beefed it. Part of like the context I think we don't get watching in like the random order that we are is that up to this point in Survivor, this is a inside Survivor term called a pagonging. And what that means is it's when one tribe, the tribe with the minority going into the merge, just picks off one by one everybody from the tribe with the minority, right? This was incredibly common to this point. It was the norm. And so throwing in a tribe swap like they did this season messed that up.
Mm-hmm.
And Roger,
so wait, you're saying that typically they would have a merge and then the majority would pick off the minority?
Yeah, for sure. Just whichever tribe had more people going into it.
Swap.
Right. This may be the first. Did we say this was the first tribe swap ever?
I don't know if we said it.
I think it was.
That was something we talked about.
It might have been something we talked about.
Yeah, which, effectively dealt with this thing that, is like a bummer about some of the first seasons of Survivor is how common it is that which one of the, this minority group is going to be voted out? It's not very suspenseful. And I wonder if, Roger expected that to hold true, that there were more men than the women, easy, but this season's not like that, which is really one of the reasons why it's so good is that it's less predictable in that way.
And in some sense, it should have held true because, I mean, in a tribe swap like that, especially the way that it was done, you could, in theory, pick off members of the opposite tribe and then rejoin your original tribe and have a clear majority. You don't even need to win immunity all the time in order to have a majority.
Yeah.
Now you have an inside man on the opposite tribe. You just had someone like Rob and Dina to thwart everything. Mm-hmm. And also you were a bad person. So
right. I had one other question for. First thing, the beginning seasons of Survivor have a really rigid construction, especially the end game, and that's why Roger is a member. He's on the merged tribe, but not a member of the jury. There's like always a final 2 and a jury of 7 here early on. So there are 10 people left in the game, even though they were merged at 10. That first person voted out post-merge isn't on the jury. So that's why he's not on the jury, and that plays into why they voted him out as well. And another thing that I needed to mention, because I texted you guys hyping this up, and then either I blacked out or it was cut from like the streaming edit of it, did you guys get Rob's voting confessional on this episode?
I don't think so.
I don't think
no.
I don't think so either. And that like definitely was aired the first time it ran. I like waited until after the episode to see if it was like a throw-in at the end of it. I have no idea why they cut this from the episode. He turns in this hilarious voting confessional when he votes Roger out. I found it on the internet here, so I'm just going to play it for you guys.
Here comes tonight's long-distance dedication. It goes out to Rob from New York. He writes, "Dear Casey, there's a mean old man in my life that's about to leave. Could you please play something appropriate for me? Well, Rob, here's your request. Na 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 na, na 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 na. Hey, 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 goodbye."
Oh my gosh.
He does a full-on Casey Kasem impersonation.
Awesome.
And sings a song.
Yeah, we did
as,
get that.
as a long-distance dedication. I wonder if, like, when Casey Kasem died, like, if they pulled it because it's now, like, not... It's uncouth, but, like, CBS, if you're pulling things from old seasons of Survivor, we have some notes.
Yeah.
Of maybe some other
what,
things you'd like to
Disney-
pull.
There was a big controversy with Disney Plus because they removed the symbol from Gravity Falls.
Yes, from Grunkle Stan's hat.
From Uncle Stan's hat. It's like a goldfish or something like that. Like it's nothing, but they removed the symbol, and everyone was like, "Why?" And so I wonder if there's like something to do with this.
Yeah,
like, or it was just someone made a decision. Like I don't know, I don't want to deal with anything. Like he's a public figure. He's a public figure. They should have been able to air it. I don't know. I got nothing.
Yeah, I don't know, but like I'm not. Any of our like more woke viewers or listeners can maybe let me know, but I'm like almost positive that this was just in the edit of the episode. It wasn't like at the finale they were like, well, you know, Rob's a really funny guy. Here's some of his funniest moments that didn't make air. Like, I really don't think that was the situation here. So I have no idea why it's not in the episode.
If it was made today, that would be a digital exclusive.
Yeah. A secret scene, if you will. All right. Well, anyway, Roger's out of the game. And let's take a turn to our fantasy game here. Roger was on the Poison Dart Frog tribe. So, Emily, you lose your second member of the game. How do you feel about your squad after that loss? Eulogize Roger's game for us, would you?
You know what? I'm going to start by saying I forgot he was on my team. And I'm a little upset at the way that he played it at the end.
Yeah.
But thanks for adding some spice into this episode and for causing Rob to have such an amazing confessional.
Yeah. It's really good.
Thank you.
Rob later goes on in one of his podcasts to do an entire segment as Casey Kasem, like a recurring segment. So it lives on.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
So from this episode, this was a hugely high-scoring episode because, as I mentioned off the top, every player who is in the game at the merge gains an automatic 15 points to reward you guys for picking people who have some longevity in the game. So with that being said, Emily pulled in 65 points this week, 25 apiece from Rob and Christy, and the base 15 from Roger. Adam pulled in 70 points, getting 25 each from Heidi and Matthew, but only 20 from Butch since he voted incorrectly. And then Scott pulled in a whopping 105 points after getting 25 each from Alex and Dina, and a whopping 25 each from Alex and Jenna, but 35 from Dina since she won immunity as well. Dave only got you 20 points since he voted incorrectly as well. And with that, our cumulative scores are as follows. In third place is Emily's Poison Dart Frogs Tribe at 230. In second place is Adam's Believe in Yourself and Aliens Tribe at 245. And pacing the group at this point is Tribe Bangarang with a 40-point lead at 285. Scott, you are pulling ahead. What does the future have in store for your group?
Well, only the survivor gods know. I have a feeling that I might take my first casualty at our next episode.
Ooh.
But for now, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm hoping we keep it going.
Yeah. Bangarang.
Bangarang, baby.
Let's move on to our MVPs section here. Scott, since you're leading the way, why don't you start us off by awarding the first MVP point of the night? Who was the strongest performer in this week's episode?
So this is I always bury my lead like in the beginning with all my like hype, but Dina again. Because she won immunity, and I feel like the whole episode was kind of like building up towards her like winning immunity and like taking control of the game.
Yeah. And
also she delivered this awesome quote, and it was like reality check-in mate.
Yeah, that was big.
In her voting confessional. So overall, I'm a Dina Stan account on Twitter. So.
Dina's an icon.
Dina.
Adam, who would you give your MVP point to today?
Dina's a really good pick. I think I'm going to go with Rob, though. He just, like, the two of them are such a great combo. I'm still upset that we don't get more Dina in the world, but that voting confessional is wonderful. And his commentary on what is happening is just great the entire time.
It really does drive the season. He's like, without a doubt, the narrator. I should look up a confessional count on this season. I would not be surprised if he, to this point, has like doubled the second place person as far as confessionals go. Emily, your turn. Who gets the MVP point?
I can see both sides of the options, but I would have to go with Dina.
Queen.
Because she...
Queena.
She is the queen of this Survivor season. She made that alliance with Rob, and she was talking about it, and I think she was talking with Jenna. And she's like, I may never win a individual immunity, but that doesn't matter. Like, I'll still be in charge of this.
Yeah.
And she did both of those things. She got the individual immunity, and she still controlled the vote tonight.
True. Yeah. Dina's a great pick. I'm going to give my slight edge to Rob, though, as well. I think what really puts it over the hump for me is the way that he orchestrated this successful kind of flopping of, as far as the tribe alliance lines go, where he was able to really, without any much like interference, get Alex. Get Alex and Matthew to vote with the women against Roger, Butch, and Dave, where, I think that, if you really think about it, it's not really out of the question at all that they get back. They talk to the guys, and Alex and Matthew are not, totally on board with sticking with the swapped tribe, and instead are like, nah, man, we've got the advantage here with the men. Let's just roll with them. But really wasn't a problem. And he got the mean old man out that he wanted to get out. So great showings from both of them, though. Anything we missed from this episode, guys?
I think we covered it.
Yeah.
Yep.
We always do, don't we? Well, thanks for listening to this episode of Outwatch. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. We love to get those ratings, so hit us with a 5-star review. It does help us show up in the feeds, and that, of course, is important. And hey, drop us a line at outwatchpodcast@gmail.com or on Twitter at Outwatch Podcast, and let us know, what is the food that would tempt you to stripping naked as the day you were born and jumping into croc-infested waters on Survivor? Let us know. Next time on Outwatch, we will be recapping episode 8 of Survivor the Amazon, titled Sleeping with the Enemy. Hold on. It's titled Sleeping with the Enemy.
In a sexual way.
We'll see you next time.